Yeah, I think the difficulty for Conor Benn in this fight is the weight and is the size. I think he's a better fighter. And I think at a natural weight class, he's a big favourite in the fight. But coming up 2 weight classes, it makes it a 50-50 fight. And you ain't going to blink in this one.
Eddie is really honest when he says that Benn is entering a risky situation. The biggest challenge isn't his skill, but his size. Moving up to higher weight classes is a huge change, not just a tough challenge. At his natural weight, Benn would be the clear favorite, but now the fight is much more even. Every second counts, and factors like power, physical strength, and endurance all play a role. This fight will really test Benn's ability to adjust. One mistake could end the fight right away. Both fighters have serious knockout power, so it's a battle where you can't afford to blink. The big question is, can Benn overcome the odds, adapt to the size difference, and prove he can compete at this level? Or will the weight jump show the limits of his power? This fight is unpredictable, and that's what makes it so dangerous.
Conor Benn is an animal with a hot head. And as soon as that bell goes, you've only got to watch Nigel Benn's fights and Conor Benn's fights in his career so far to realise he's going to set about him from the first bell.
Eddie Hearn isn't holding back. Conor Benn is a fierce, unstoppable force in the ring. He's a pure animal, full of fire that can't be tamed. From the moment the bell rings, it's all-out war. Just look at his career and his father's legendary fights. There's no feeling out process, no patience, just pure destruction. Benn thrives in chaos, using explosive aggression and constant pressure to overwhelm his opponents. But here's the catch. Will that same power be enough when he faces a bigger, stronger opponent? Charging in from the start is a risky move, and against the wrong fighter, it could backfire badly. This fight isn't about just surviving, it's about who can take control first. Will Benn's relentless attack break his opponent, or will he rush into danger and pay the price? One thing's for sure, this fight won't go to the judges.
You know, for all the promotion, for all the nonsense, for all the crap, you've got 2 fighters here. Might not be for a world title, but if you want to see a scrap, you're going to see one, because these two like to fight. Look at their careers. They are the fighters. They are the brawlers. They love it. And they only know one way. And that's what's going to happen on April 26th. They're going to meet in the ring, in the center of the ring, and they're going to go off. And that's why the casual fans are going to love this fight.
Eddie Hearn isn't holding back. Conor Benn is a fierce, unstoppable force in the ring. He's a pure animal, full of fire that can't be tamed. From the moment the bell rings, it's all-out war. Just look at his career and his father's legendary fights. There's no feeling out process, no patience, just pure destruction. Benn thrives in chaos, using explosive aggression and constant pressure to overwhelm his opponents. But here's the catch. Will that same power be enough when he faces a bigger, stronger opponent? Charging in from the start is a risky move, and against the wrong fighter, it could backfire badly. This fight isn't about just surviving, it's about who can take control first. Will Benn's relentless attack break his opponent, or will he rush into danger and pay the price? One thing's for sure, this fight won't go to the judges.
Eubank Jr is his own man, and that's what he's always tried to make out. This is me, this is my career, and this is how I do things. Dad, that was your era, that was your time, blah, 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 let me do this. But I'm sure he'd love to have him sat ringside watching him.
On the other hand, Joe Gallagher doesn't hold back when talking about Chris Eubank Jr. He's relentlessly pursuing independence, refusing to follow in his father's footsteps, and determined to create his own legacy, no matter the cost. But here's the catch. Despite his defiance, there's an unspoken need for validation. He won't admit it, but deep down, having his father in his corner and witnessing his dominance would mean everything to him. That's the uncomfortable truth no one talks about. The real question is, can he truly reach the top without that support? Or is he unknowingly battling against his own past? The pressure is building, the expectations are overwhelming, and the time to prove himself is now. This isn't just about boxing, it's about identity, legacy, and a fight far bigger than any opponent in the ring. The clock is ticking, and the toughest challenge of his career is unfolding.
I think it'll be a mismatch, you know, just as much a mismatch as the presses have been. It will be a similar format, you know, playing out in the physical. Chris is way too much, and that will become evident as the rounds go on in the fight.
Meanwhile, Harlem Eubank is confident in his assessment of a potential showdown, clearly seeing a major mismatch. Just from the press conferences, the gap between the two fighters was obvious, and he believes the actual fight will highlight that difference even more. On the other hand, he expects Chris's superior physicality to take over as the rounds go on. That strength will become undeniable, leading Harlem to predict a one-sided beatdown, with Chris proving to be too much for his opponent to handle. The question is, will the fight play out exactly as Harlem expects, or is there a surprise waiting in the wings?
His dad's son, and his dad's exactly the same. And the Eubanks and the Benns, they know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and so there'll always be that family rivalry going on. And so, and Chris's aloof personality, you know, riles Conor, like his dad did, you know, with their dads did. So he knows exactly what he's got to do.
Moreover, Johnny Nelson isn't holding back when it comes to Conor Benn, making it clear that his actions have gone too far. Benn has repeatedly crossed the line with reckless statements and behavior that Nelson refuses to support. On the other hand, when talking about Chris Eubank Jr., Nelson takes a different approach, recognizing his dedication and consistency in building his own legacy. Meanwhile, Benn's actions have cast a shadow over his reputation, sparking endless debates among fans and pundits about his true character. Nelson sees a clear divide. While Eubank Jr. stays focused on the fight, Benn is caught up in unnecessary drama that only holds him back. The real question is, will Benn's in-ring performance silence the critics, or is he on the verge of letting the chaos consume him?
It's actually a good thing sometimes to have a little bit of weight to train up. Not a lot, but you know, and I think that's what Eubank's got, whereas Conor is already at the weight, or there or thereabouts. So that's also a benefit in the sense like he can now just completely fuel his training and fuel his performance. But it's always going to favour the bigger man. It's always going to favour the bigger man. But age is the biggest factor for me in this fight.
During training, a tactic that works heavily in Eubank Jr.'s favor is the added weight. Jay argues that this extra weight gives Eubank Jr. something to push against, improving his strength and conditioning. In contrast, Conor Benn is already close to his fight weight, which allows him to focus purely on refining his technique and fueling his training. While this may seem like the smarter approach, Migan believes that in a fight like this, size matters, and the bigger fighter often has the upper hand. However, Migan also points to age as a key factor. Despite Benn's superior conditioning, stamina and recovery could play a massive role, tipping the scales in Eubank Jr.'s favor. It's clear that while both fighters have their strengths, age and physicality could ultimately decide who comes out on top.
And I'm also very close with Conor Benn. He's a good pal of mine, so it's very hard for me to sort of sit back and say this or say that. I think they're doing a fantastic job in selling their fight. I think it's going to be a fantastic fight. They both obviously have the needle with each other, and they're both going to give it everything. So be prepared for war, and I hope they get out of the ring safe and sound.
Moreover, Tommy Welch admits that staying neutral in the Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn showdown is no easy task, given his strong ties to both fighters. Welch reveals that Benn has been training in his gym, making it even harder to choose a side. Despite this, he praises both men for how they've built up the fight, fueling an already explosive rivalry. One thing is certain, this is going to be a war. Both fighters will enter the ring with everything to prove, pushing themselves to their absolute limits, with genuine animosity between them. This won't just be a fight. It'll be a battle of pride and sheer determination. Welch's only hope is that both fighters leave the ring safely after delivering one of the most high-stakes, adrenaline-fueled clashes in recent memory.
Oh, we are on good terms. I don't believe he didn't know about it.
No, you know I didn't know.
No, I don't, because I think you're a little bit snaky.
No, you know I didn't know.
No.
Don't talk.
No. Because
No, you can't say things.
No, stop, because
You
then I'll
can't say
take you
things.
through. Listen, I've been very nice to you
but you
lately,
can't say
and I've
things
been very
after.
nice to you lately. I've given you a big education in the
Yeah, but
last
you
couple of
can't say
weeks.
things
I've told
after.
you were very lucky to be talking to me. Right, but we do get on well. We actually have a bit of banter. He actually, if you don't mind me saying, he was asking me potentially to go on Boxer's Balls.
Yeah, it was a
the other
good
night.
joke.
I was-
Meanwhile, Adam Smith couldn't hide his frustration over the growing tension in the situation. While he insisted that he and the other party were technically on good terms, he wasn't buying the claims of ignorance. Smith didn't hesitate to call out what he saw as a sly attitude, making it clear that he didn't believe the other side was unaware of what had been going on. His annoyance was obvious, and he admitted to being overly accommodating, only to be met with dismissals. On the other hand, Smith managed to lighten the mood by sharing some hilarious moments they had together, proving that even in tense situations, there's still room for a laugh. He even half-jokingly mentioned the idea of joining them on Boxers B, leaving fans to wonder if it was just a casual remark or something more. Despite the underlying tension, the connection between them remains complex, with plenty of unanswered questions still lingering.
Really, I mean, I didn't know he was going to pull an egg out of his pocket and slap it around his head, but, you know, it was always going to be some form of drama, and yeah, it was always going to happen. It spiced it up. Like I say, I wasn't really surprised by it. Like, you know, maybe a little bit stupid, maybe not a little bit stupid, you know, maybe there was going to be something that's going to happen. Was it going to be Conor Benn? Was it going to be Chris Eubank Jr.? But I think that shows you the rivalry between these two and the feuds between these two.
On the other hand, Spencer Oliver wasn't exactly shocked by the egg stunt, though he didn't expect it to escalate into such a bizarre video. Drama was always inevitable, and with the tension between Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr., something big was bound to happen. Oliver points out that while the egg slap was a bit ridiculous, it actually represented the deep rivalry between these two fighters. This fight was never just about boxing, it's personal. That moment proved it wasn't just some absurd prank. It was a statement, a reflection of years of simmering bad blood. Benn and Eubank Jr. have been circling each other for far too long, and with emotions running high, this was bound to boil over. Oliver sees it for what it is, fuel to an already blazing fire. What started as a fight for pride has turned into something much bigger. It's a war, a battle of egos, a brutal clash to see just how far they're willing to go to tear each other down. One thing's for sure, this rivalry is about to get even uglier. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.